this test with the gimbal mount and batteries redone and some other modifications. I'm going to do a single test, and then I'm going to do probably a dual battery test, and then do a test with the dual battery and the gimbal. What I'm going to do is just do a hover, like 30 seconds, as long as everything's good, lower it back down, and do each one like that. That way I can check the logs and check for all the good stuff I need to do. So let me go through a basic check real quick. Arming motors. Alright, let it stop again. So this is single battery, and as you can see, it's very stable. It's what it was tuned for before. The only difference now is the battery is actually mounted to the lower tray. I have a second battery holder below that, but the second battery is not in. And after this flight, you're going to see where I do a swap and add the second battery in. Alright, that was successful. Alright, here's two batteries now. We're going to see if it's stable enough with two batteries without the gimbal. The center of gravity is a little bit off, but we'll see. Of course, the wind's picking up big time, so this will be a short test today. Wait for this wind to calm down.
Motors on.
Yeah, you can see that wobble when it first took off. That's because the center of gravity was off and I wasn't expecting it. But it compensated quite quickly. That was the biggest thing I was worried about. That initial takeoff, whether it was going to try to tip or not.
Motors disarmed.
Well, that was successful. Now I'm putting the gimbal on, and it may not seem like much, but the gimbal is like 1.5 pounds, and it's forward and hanging down, so it makes a huge difference. Alright, gimbal's on. Let's give it a shot.
Motors on.
Alright, so this is where the big difference comes in. And this is where we talked about in the previous video about the harmonic notch filter. And my frequency is now changed. I have to go back through and re-notch it and then retune this thing. So anytime you have a dynamic change like that, you've got to retune. If you haven't had a chance to check out the previous video, you'll find it at the top right hand corner of the video right now. Well, looks like I got to do a little bit of tuning with the gimbal on there. So that's going to be something I need to do here in the future. It was starting to get a little bit of a yaw in there, so I think I'll put it back into tuning mode and give her a little test. Probably take off one more time. Maybe I'll wait. With this wind going, give it one more shot.
Motors on.
Now this is where things almost get real bad. As you can see, it starts to develop quite a bit of oscillation, just trying to compensate for the wind. Wind's picking up, copter's not tuned, I got a lot of weight on it. Should have stopped right then and there, but I kept it going for a minute. Alright, so the oscillation, this has to do with the tuning. I think I need to put a little bit more KP rate in there, but we'll get that dialed in. It was solid without it, so, but as soon as I got that extra weight on there, it's still trying to learn everything, so it'll get better as it flies. Let me give you a closer look at the craft here. So this is effectively almost its final configuration. Not exactly 100% final. As you can see, I've got a Grimsey T1 gimbal on there. I'm running 2 of the batteries off the Matrice 100. I've got the HereLink antennas on the custom mounts there. The RTK GPS. That's pretty much it. I'm shaking because I've gotten so much work in this thing and I'm so far. It's just a scary thought about doing something and then having it crash on you this far in. But that's the way it goes. All right, here's another little overview here. I can show you some things that are going on. So currently I set this up for dual operator mode. I've got the Radiomaster TX16S, and that is actually controlling the craft. It's got OpenTX with the Yapu telemetry, so I have telemetry being fed back here. It gives you your artificial horizon, your flight modes, your 3D fix or satellite count, what the satellite variance is in meters, so 0.8 meters. It's got your longitude, latitude, the flight time, battery percentage, flight controller voltage, battery voltage, how much current's being used, your yaw heading, and whether you're armed or disarmed. Works out really great. Motor kill here, flight mode selection on the top.
Stabilize flight mode. Altitude hold flight mode.
Alright.
Loiter flight mode.
So here I'm using the HereLink. Currently using the Solex TX. I'm going to go ahead and connect to it.
Loiter. Connected to vehicle.
Now the video is not hooked up and the camera's not on it right this second. I've got the cable coming, but you'll be able to see I've got flight mode, all your telemetry here on the HereLink also, and able to send Mavlink commands to the craft, so the Senso could actually back up if something went wrong, and potentially change flight modes for the pilot in case something was happening. On top of that, as you can see here, there's your tilt on the gimbal. The gimbal, I got full gimbal mode. There's your roll. So it allows to have full control over the gimbal, and the pilot has full control over the craft for dual operator mode. I can also lock the gimbal. The gimbal is now locked. I have tilt control, so when it's locked, you can actually fly out and use that to hold the camera in place. So it works out pretty well. It should be able to send Mavlink commands to the gimbal also, but that'll be later when we get into a dual operator mode. So that's what's kind of neat here. When I said dual operator mode, I was talking dual operator, dual HereLink mode. My screen brightness and see. So even in the sun, the HereLink's not real bright. With a sunshade, it would be much better. It's not perfect, but it's a pretty decent solution for what it is. But it still allows full control of this stuff. I'm running the dual battery system, and eventually it'll be, I've got like 11,400 milliamp hours of battery. At some point it's going to be like 16,000, 20,000, so it'll give me a little bit more flight time. The battery will be up higher. I'll be able to center the battery a little bit more. Right now, as you can see, I'm going to pick it up. Let me go ahead and turn this off so that it doesn't start on me or anything. Now this is without the camera. The camera's going to add some weight. I'm going to grab it in the center. This will give you an idea of the weight balance. So right now it's pretty balanced. Let me try to get it just the tips of my fingers. So I've got it pretty balanced right now and where it's at. I may shorten these legs up. It looks like I've got a couple of inches. I can shorten them, get some of the weight down. But it's fine. I definitely have some tuning to do, and pretty soon it's going to be in the air, and we're going to be doing some video with it. Alright, because of the increase in weight, the hover throttle percentage increased quite a bit. and what that did is that changed the harmonics for vibration, and the vibration got faster, obviously because you got a higher RPM on the motors. So I moved the notch filter down, and hopefully with the harmonics too, that should make a difference. Hopefully it's not too low. We're going to find out. I'm not going to get very high in case this thing gets kind of haywire. The notch filtering makes a huge difference in flight, but if you get too low in the notch filtering, you begin to notch out the actual gyroscope harmonics, which you don't want to do. So fire her off and give it a shot, see what happens.
Yahoo telemetry ready.
Welcome to OpenTX. RF signal low.
GPS 3D stick lock. Loiter flight mode. Motors armed. Disarmed.
All right, well, I definitely have some more tuning to go. It's starting to oscillate, so that means that the KP rate is not right. So what I need to do is get it back up for the knob and the KP rate and get that dialed in again. So, but it was holding better for sure. It's just that oscillation, and then once it tried to compensate for the wind blowing, it tried to get into another one of those oscillation things that caused a pretty nasty wreck last time. So one step at a time, we'll get it.
Motors armed.
All right, so there it is. That's about as solid as you're gonna get. That's a perfect tune on this craft. Hovering, holding, wind's still blowing. I mean, it's not hardly going anywhere. I've got enough. Y'all bounce back nice and steady. Exactly what you're looking for right there. Go ahead and land it down again.
Motors disarmed. Motors armed.
So here I'm kind of just playing with the controls, making sure that the tune is still good. You'll see some drifting left and right and forward and back. That's me actually doing input, and what I'm doing is I'm looking at the dead spots on the sticks. The sticks respond after a certain amount, but they usually create a dead spot for the flight controller, where if you move it,
pretty good now.
you know, it takes 10 to 15%, sometimes 20% change before it actually starts to implement it. And you can tune that dead spot. So I'm checking out my dead spots, but as you can see here, it's holding pretty solid. Almost any movement you see is me actually inputting stuff into the stick, so quite happy with how it turned out. It's holding real well. a little bit better for the wind. Alright, bring her down.
Motors disarmed.
There it is. I want to thank everybody for watching. If you haven't already done so, I'd appreciate it if you hit the subscribe button, hit the bell icon to be notified of any uploaded videos, and we're going to have some really good content coming up.